All right, well, let's kick off this Hypergraph. We're about 10 after the hour, and Ray is a busy man. So I'm Ben Jorgensen, as you know. For those of you coming into Hypergraph Hour for the first time, we started this, I want to say like a couple months ago, where it's kind of an ad hoc meeting of the minds. Already. Where we talk about upcoming things in Constellation, and now we're starting to invite guests into Constellation to the Hypergraph Hour to kind of talk about what we're building and why we're building, and we'll also provide sort of some clarity on who we are as a company and what we're doing. Today, I asked Rehito Hatoyama to join us, and Ray, maybe you can say hi so that people can distinguish you from everybody else there.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So Ray is a really good friend of mine, and I've traveled throughout Japan with Ray, and I've met some of his family members, in fact, in Japan. But Ray came to us a couple years ago and wanted to be an advisor for Constellation. So he is a formal advisor to the company and myself, and kind of helps us with the overall macro vision. I consider Ray one of these individuals that just knows everybody and has seen a ton. His former life, he was at Mitsubishi, and we're going to highlight some of that today. Ray then went on to be the global CEO for Hello Kitty, or the Sanrio umbrella, and then went on to be a partner at Sozo Ventures, which is a later stage investment firm that's invested in a lot of companies, but most notably a few companies that have IPO'd: Palantir, Zoom, Fastly. They are also big backers in Coinbase. And Ray has been an instrumental figure in navigating U.S. companies into Japan and the kiretsu model of Japan, which we'll dive into that. And he's also was instrumental in taking Sanrio from a few $1 million business into a multi-billion-dollar company that focused on licensing and open sourcing, or creating open innovation around the Hello Kitty brand. So I don't want to take all the light on Ray's introduction, but I wanted to kind of touch on a few things. Ray, maybe you want to give a general idea of your passion, interest, and who you are.
Yes, thank you very much, Ben, and thank you for inviting to this community. I'm very happy to be on the Zoom today. And Ben, thank you again, and all the team. I appreciate all the works and efforts you're making for Constellation. So I think Ben already did most of my introduction. I think two things I want to point out is I'm trying to be a visionary for entertainment industry. What I'm saying is, for example, Hello Kitty, it was a very small property when I joined 2008, but it became kind of global after 5 years after I joined. I'm helping a lot of Japanese content company, entertainment company go global. Examples are not only Pokemon, but something from I'm related to Dragon Balls and all other Japanese IP you can imagine. And I just love bridging Japan and the US. And some of this started from my grandfather. My grandfather was one of the founders of Sony. I saw him make it to a big brand, and I just wanted to do something similar when I become older. So I think I'm still trying to mock him as my role model, and so I think that's one of the vision I want to do. And in doing that, I also envision myself for not only Japanese companies, but US and global companies going into Japanese market or going global. And my headquarters for Hello Kitty was in the US. So it was a success from Japan to global, but I did it from the US. So I kind of, yes, understand or I want to understand and be much more involved in globalization from the US, especially into Japanese market. I bridge that, help that as well too.
And also, one of your interesting fact that our community pointed out is that one of your grandfathers was the former prime minister of Japan.
Great grandfather.
Great grandfather.
Yes, and my far uncle. Yes.
So Ray, as both the business execution and having one side of the family be part of the Sony Kiretsu, and then his other side of his family is very political. And I actually got the chance to meet one of your uncles, the mayor, Tajima.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So to kick things off today, Ray and I were chatting before this call, and one of the things that stuck out that he brought up to our attention is we want to inspire people to build on Constellation. And you hear, over the past couple of weeks, you started hearing things about state channels, our version of smart contracts, and the L0 token standard, which is, our version of an ERC20, but with more robust business logic that can hand scalable applications. And so this call today is going to be less about, Ray kind of walking through his past, but really kind of inspiring our community to build on top of Constellation and inspiring people in the way of what other companies are doing and building. And Ray being on the board of Line Corp, Mythical Games, and a partner at a big venture company, you have access to other visionaries, other businesses. And while he also is advisor to many, would you say, massive companies in kiretsus in Japan. And so has an idea of where technology is going and where the adoption and where they're looking. And so a lot of this is to inspire the creativity and that people should be building on blockchain and, namely Constellation. But, Ray, to kick things off, what is your vision on blockchain? How do you see it, and how do you see the world transforming?
Yes. So I think one of the things I see is in 10 years, I see it as a technology which people doesn't really know, but have enabled a lot of new things. It's like internet. You don't talk about internet so much. You talk about I think not the technology, but I think it's already providing everything. Mobile phone as well too. You don't anymore talk about mobile phone, but 10 years, 15 years, you used to talk about how hardware and specs and connectability. And I think blockchain is, I see it becoming some of the infrastructure, the base technology to enable something. And in 10 years, for example, in entertainment industry, I envision, for example, I buy a clothes for Mario on Nintendo platform, but I want that clothes to be wearable on Fortnite. And then I want my Fortnite gun, a special item, to be used on Call of Duty, so I can play better. And this kind of connectivity is happening in other industries, not in game industry yet. There's something like this. I feel like it's going to start. It's not just for gaming industry. It's something for the brand as well too. I'm advised to L Capital, which is LVMH fund. So I see a lot of things happening on the brand side as well too. Me myself, I'm working for the brand for Pharrell Williams and Nigo, who made Human Made after a Bathing Ape. So it's not just about gaming blockchain, but it's going to be something more about how to enable commodities or how to enable luxury things. And without blockchain, this kind of thing is not enabled. So I'm hoping that some technology or some people or some individual guy can make these kind of things happen.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about what Ray's talking about, and we talked earlier, is that Constellation has been focusing on driving a narrative around cross-chain compatibility. So being able to be fluid between different blockchain ecosystems that doesn't cost a lot. And so we're seeing a lot with Ethereum gas fees and limited asset management. That a lot of the things that we brainstorm in his world are, well, to enable kind of the exchange of digital goods in digital marketplaces, or a unique digital asset, or what we call a non-fungible token, you need to have cross-chain compatibility while you have robust business logic. Would that be kind of fair to say?
Yeah. And 2020 was, I think, impressive in terms of Bitcoin. I think the market cap of Bitcoin became 600, 700 billion. It's huge. Disney is half of that. Netflix is half of that. And US is 22 trillion in terms of GDP. Japan is 5 trillion. And Google is 1.5 2 trillion. So I think it's becoming a market you're not able to neglect anymore. And there's a confidence in Bitcoin that represents some, I think, basis for you need to work on blockchain to a certain extent. I think I'm sitting on lots of board, including Line, and we have been testing a lot of new technologies, how it can be implemented. But it wasn't a full effort. I mean, you need to see the industry AI as well too. But I think people are getting serious about it. I think the first movers, or the first, I think, company who's going to nail this is going to benefit a lot. And it's not just the company, but the community and the world itself is going to benefit from it. So I think 2021 is going to be a very dynamic year to find out who's really going to play on this.
Thanks, Ray. That's awesome. When we were talking, you really had a vision or an amazing perspective of what's been happening in the last 2 weeks with regards to GameStop and AMC. And what does that mean? I thought you had we had a great conversation. Maybe you want to touch on some of what that means to you and how that's applicable to communities.
Yes, I think I think it's I think along with the Bitcoin story as well too. I think I think financial institutions they buy the stock, they evaluate themselves. It's a closed market. Some rich people run the money through them, or they sell and buy the stocks themselves. But I think what happened in the 2 weeks is people just buy the stocks they like. As Elon Musk said, and Tesla is one good example. People believe in Tesla, and investors didn't believe in Tesla. It's interesting because I'm in consumer and brand and entertainment industry, and mostly the stocks traded was those kind of stocks I've traced anyway, and I think. Yes, so I think people have the rights to buy whatever they want, and they buy the stocks what they like. And I think what happened last week was, I think the Reddit community together with other social network community, they went ahead and buy the stock they liked, even though the financial institution said they don't like it. So I know that there's lots of technology about shorts and others as well too. But basically what I'm saying is I think the community has enabled those kind of things to happen. And the technology behind that, like Reddit as well too, but Robinhood and other platforms to trade that with a very small cost of trading made all these kind of things happen. And it can happen in other industry as well too. Ben, we talked about open innovation and closed innovation about Hello Kitty as well too. It's the same. I said I grew a Hello Kitty company, but that wasn't done just by me. The main lever how I grew Hello Kitty company was by community. Hello Kitty and Disney as well too, and the Peanut Snoopy as well too. There's one creator, great creator who decides everything. But for Hello Kitty, I thought it's going to be uh, more beneficial to have an open source, open innovation platform. Just because there was a lot of fans who was saying Hello Kitty was great, but I don't see that kind of product. Especially in the US, lots of celebrities loved Hello Kitty, but those kind of sexy Hello Kitty wasn't there. But when we license the products, you see sexy Hello Kitty run by a lot of different kind of designers, and I just enhanced that. So when I joined Hello Kitty company, the designers was internal, the one main designer with 5 maybe. But in 5 years, we had like over 1,000 designers working for Hello Kitty in lots of company who are really destinated to and loved Hello Kitty and wanted to do something. And that was, I think, the biggest blast I had with Hello Kitty. So I think with the platform, with this technology, I think, things happens more than you expect.
So one of the things you highlighted in open innovation in the past, we talked about open innovation and open source. Okay, we've got 5 designers that are designing for Hello Kitty. How do we open source this? How do we get thousands of people's creativity to be a part of our brand? And now where we're heading is towards decentralization versus centralization. But one of the key things that you mentioned around Hello Kitty was that you still kept some basic principles intact, like basic rules, but you caused open innovation. How are we seeing decentralization today start to impact us? And how does that relate to Robinhood, GameStop, even the listing of Coinbase on an IPO?
Yes, I think yes, I usually refer to Wikipedia. No, I think 10 years ago, nobody believed that Wikipedia is going to be a dictionary, but now people use it as normal. I think it needs to go to somebody who authorized check with 10 people, 20 people. That was the way it used to be. But I think the community proved that they can make things work on a decentralized mode. And that might be much more proper or right in terms of what's written. I think yes, we had a lot of argument in this couple of weeks about who should really rule the social network and who should decide who's on, how to talk, what to talk. But in the decentralized model or the community model, is the community is going to decide themselves. And I think things are moving toward decentralized, then centralized, and how to manage that technology is not there. There's a lot of story around social network. Should be decentralized. Yes, and still, people haven't figured out. But I think blockchain has the biggest, closest route to make those kind of things happen. And I think, once again, Robinhood and the community as well too, which on Reddit led to this kind of movement, is one of the good example of how a community can make things different. It's not about right or wrong. It's more about it. I think the phenomenon we're seeing is that these things can happen.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. And one of the things you kind of said, hey, why is this being validated, or how do you see it validated? And I thought it was interesting that you made the comparison of, well, Robinhood started out selling crypto and Coinbase sells crypto, and well, Coinbase is about to be listed on a centralized exchange, right? That in essence is mainstream adoption and a way to buy into digital currency in some sense. I think you said it way better than I did.
Yeah, so I think Coinbase is a good example. I compare it to New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ as well too, and companies are listed. And how you validate companies are listed, they go through an IPO. Now you have direct IPO, and you have SPACs as well too. But I think there's a market, and somebody needs to verify the market. And I see that happening for blockchain. It's Coinbase. So I think it's not a full decentralized, but at the same time, I think when it's traded, I think it's amazing to see a company like Coinbase has that kind of function. Just because I think it's something tradable. I think company stocks are traded, as mentioned. Like Disney's like 320 billion, Nike is like 250 billion. So yeah, somebody is buying and it's verified, and it's interesting because you can trade oils, coffee, crops like and like potatoes. So those are kind of things that are traded, but people doesn't necessarily trade it all the day. So people are not aware.
You don't buy a barrel of oil. You buy Exxon or something.
Yeah. So you can buy that. So I think yes, I think there's lots of idea around. Even Nasdaq and all those kind of companies as well too are trying to trade more digital assets like art and all those kind of things. You hear those kind of stories. Even in Japan as well too, like SoftBank planning to trade more digital on a stock market. So I think now people believe more in digital. I do Pokemon Go a lot. I'm level.
You can find Ray on Pokemon Go if you want to engage with him.
I'm still level 43, and I know that Wyatt is not doing it so much because he's level 36, and I haven't really seen him evolve from that.
Well, that's a good thing. Wyatt needs to be working on the protocol and not playing Pokemon Go.
Exactly. But anyway, I think my point is, I think a digital Pokemon, I think, I think you believe in that asset. So I do have some Pokemon cards as well too. And I think in 10 years, Pokemon card probably is going to be digital because now you believe in digital assets. 5 years ago, people didn't believe it. It's interesting. I'm involved in a lot of toy development, and some of it is connected to digital item. And you price the like small items $5, which have like digital item as well too. And kids throw those analog items and just keep the digital item. So you try to sell the toy, but actually they're only interested in this digital piece, not the $5. I think
you were telling me a story about your kids doing that.
Yeah. I bought them a couple items and they throw it all away, and I'm like, why did you throw it away? We just bought it, and the kids just had those items into Switch, and it's over. So you don't need a fancy analog. You just needed a code, or you just could have bought on digital, and that's how I think people are really. Think, especially the younger generation, our kids are really reacting to this digital world. So I think, and to have this kind of things happen more in an easier way with lower cost, blockchain technology needs to be there. And I'm hoping that you can nail that out.
Sure. I mean, kids aren't going to be paying $1,500 gas fees to send one digital asset to another person. That's just not going to happen. So NFTs and non-fungible tokens, like what Ray is talking about, unique digital assets, will be something that Constellation supports in the L0 standard. And we're pretty excited about it and kind of open a lot of doors for the entertainment industry. Ray, I do want to segue into, talking about Coinbase. I think was really fascinating. And you're a partner at Sozo Ventures, and you were a part of a big round of funding a few years ago with Coinbase. But notably, you walked Coinbase into Japan through a Keiretsu. And so I want to spend the remaining time, like 10 minutes, talking about a Keiretsu and why it's so valuable and what is it. So a lot of what Constellation has started to disseminate in terms of our communication is that we are a decentralized kiretsu. And a kiretsu is a Japanese term for a business conglomerate that typically is orchestrated around some sort of financing arm or capital. And it creates basically a protective layer around subsidiary companies so that they can operate and have access to capital and or own some sort of supply chain. Mitsubishi is one of the most famous, and they have a banking arm all the way to building out battery, car parts, all the way to the showroom. And so you've walked not only Coinbase, but also Palantir, which Constellation gets compared to Palantir quite a bit because they entered the data analytics market 18 years ago, focused on data when the rest of Silicon Valley said, screw off. And they focused on government contracts and then developer adoption. So I would love for you to highlight a kiretsu, your experience in working at Mitsubishi. You actually worked at a kiretsu and you have ushered these deals. Could you talk a little bit more about that? And I'll shut up and tell that story on Palantir.
Yeah, so I think, yes, I joined the Mitsubishi Corporation, and there I met Ko Nakamura. So he's the founder and the partner of Sozo Ventures, and so we met over there. We had lots of business experience there as well too. Some together as well too. And when I decided to step down from Hello Kitty company Sanrio, he said, why don't you join my venture capital, which is Sozo Ventures? So, and he founded that 8-9 years ago, and I was the first LP. So one of the first LP, because I was making, me, not myself, Sanrio. Sanrio was making so much money, so think we should make some portfolio to connect with tech companies. So we did strategic investment to Sozo Ventures. So that's the start. And since that, Ko has been really excellent on leveraging the Keiretsu, since we are from Mitsubishi as well too. And Mitsubishi is a great supporter of Sozo Ventures as well too. So we connect a lot of business to and through Mitsubishi as well too. And to begin with, Keiretsu is, as Ben, you mentioned, it's a conglomerate. And it's not just a simple conglomerate. It has oil, but it has banking, it has Mitsubishi Motor Cars, and all the function. And as some people know, Warren Buffett invested to Mitsubishi and a couple of Keiretsu, just because Warren Buffett thought it's something representing Japan. So if you're going to buy Japan or yen, it's easier to buy the business and investment arm of Keiretsu. So he bought Mitsubishi. And if you
like an index, almost like an index,
exactly,
right? Treating Mitsubishi as an index because it sees you can invest in like real estate, auto. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of a platform. Some people say there's a conglomerate discount, but at the same time, it's working well especially when you are doing business. Because they're so much connected, and that's why Sozo Ventures both Palantir and Coinbase is the credit of Ko Nakamura, not me. So I just want to clarify that for but anyway, I think he did a great job on introducing that to Keiretsu. And if you see the content of the Keiretsu, they have like a major share in each segment. Like insurance, they have like 20-30%. In car industry, they have 10. In retail, they have a couple percent. In oil, or for example, like tuna. Maguro, yes, and like 70% is done by Mitsubishi. So, wow. So I think from banking to tuna to like convenience store,
like tuna the fish.
Yeah, tuna the fish. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like if you want to eat toro and others as well too. Yeah. Basically, I think you're going through Mitsubishi and. The fish you buy at Whole Foods, even in the US, some of them are from Mitsubishi. You just don't know. So
Wow.
so I think it's an infrastructure. So that's what I'm talking about blockchain as well too. You meet and something is happening, but it's likely to be Mitsubishi, and 20-30% of some business is related to Mitsubishi. That's the strength. So if you want to go into Japanese market, we strongly recommend to talk first with the Keiretsu, because then you have like one connection becomes a multiple connection, and yeah, talking with like 100 people, you might not in doing business, but talking with one or two important people who has the connectability, that's the strength. So Mitsubishi talked with Coinbase, and Palantir talked with Sompo, and especially like Palantir, if you see a lot of article written last year as well too. There's a lot of, I think, article referring to Sozo Ventures and Sompo investing 500 million before the IPO and even before that. So I think that's the power of the Keiretsu.
No, I appreciate that. It's for all the people listening to the community, and why we keep talking about this is because DAG, our cryptocurrency, becomes the medium exchange beyond, around our kiretsu. So a lot of what we're modeling our ecosystem from a humanistic level is what has been done successfully in Japan, and thus state channels become subsidiary companies in the kiretsu. So we become like our own guard or a protective ecosystem that's really agnostic to everything. And you can almost think of DAG as like an index token across the different entities that exist in Constellation.
Yeah, I think it's same with Hello Kitty as well too. I think it's decentralized model, and I talked about like thousands of designers. But if you think about it, like for example, we partnership with Gap, and then Gap has a lot of division, and they have like 60 designers. They design for us. We partnership in H&M. Yeah, they have like 100 designers as well too, and each division they work together. It's a win-win. It's in a like platform called Hello Kitty. So I think the more you have a win-win situation with, I think with an alignment, it sometimes needs to be trust. It sometimes needs to be technologies. Sometimes by capital, but the loose network of expanding what we want to achieve together. That's I think the key for the success of making Keiretsu, or making some connectability and making something big.
I like that: trust, capital, and technology.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's great. You know, I think you wanted to highlight a funny story on Palantir. Am I correct?
Yes. So they Cole writes it somewhere as well too. But I think when he first met Palantir, I think it was very difficult to understand what was happening on the back. But at the,
like Constellation in some ways.
Yeah, but at the same time, it worked. so when you see it, it works. So yes, yeah. But I think like Ko and Sozo decided to invest even without understanding what it is. It definitely works. And when we introduced to some of the customers, potential customers to Japan as well too, yeah, it worked. So people didn't understand why and how it works, but it does work. So I think, yeah, and when we are asked to explain about it, it was so difficult, and I still can't to a certain extent, and I still don't fully understand what they are doing. But at the same time, yeah, they can do what they say they can do, and they definitely can do what I think other companies can't do, and that's the amazing part. Yeah, but it's so difficult to explain, or so difficult to, I think, understand. So I think, yes, sometimes I think, yes, you need to forget about understanding, because you can understand how the car works completely, but you still drive the car. So right. Yeah, so I think, but you guys are different. I think you guys know about the car and how to make that work. But I'm hoping that one day blockchain can become like that. Yeah, fundamental infrastructure, make things work. but people doesn't necessarily need to understand how the technology itself works.
No, I love that, Ray. And, a lot of people are always wondering, they try to understand Constellation. And I actually know several of the Palantir people and the guys that started it. And they said, nobody would give us any attention on Silicon Valley. They didn't understand it, but we knew there was something special there. And we got these government contracts. And for all those of you that don't know Palantir, they IPO'd last year and have done rather well out the gates. And they went through their approach was to primarily go after government contracts. And they, for all the data that's being shared around COVID, they are pretty much the ones monopolizing all the contracts on COVID data right now. It's pretty fascinating. So, Ray, this has been an awesome conversation. I'd love for you any parting words before you take off. I appreciate all this time. This always goes longer than we expect.
Yeah, sure. I think yes. Once again, yeah. Thank you very much for letting me talk. And yes. Once again, I'm really wish that the community of constellations can help us build something big. And I'm hoping to see that happen in the real world. I think I've talked through a couple of things which might be different from the talks we had from 1 to 6, but I just wanted to tell all of you that you guys are more relevant than you think to the world. What's happening in the world last week, I think that's so relevant to you guys. And I just wanted to put in some views that I think all the things you're doing is something really going to change the world. Thank you very much for having me.
Ray, thank you so much for your time, and I'll catch up with you later today. I know you have a busy day, so feel free to sign off. I'm going to tell the community a few more things for next week. So,
okay,
Ray,
sayonara.
Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Sayonara. Bye.
Bye. Okay, well, everyone, thank you so much. I hope that was a good conversation. My conversations with Ray always end up just spiraling into some of the most interesting things. And I think there are some really fascinating takeaways on this call that he sees a ton of potential for what we're doing and has had an eye on us for a long time and makes introductions all the time to new people, especially since there's so many limitations around existing blockchain protocols. It's not readily available because it just doesn't scale from an economic and technical spot. So, he came into this call saying, I really want to inspire the community to build applications because every industry, especially entertainment and licensing of products and digital goods, are going to be essential, and people have explored it. I know this because he introduced us to a lot of companies that it was like too early for them. And some of the bad things that have happened is that, the promises of existing blockchain technologies kind of failed many companies. So they were disillusioned, and now they're coming into the fold through us. And Ray is being a shepherd, much like he worked alongside the Palantir and Coinbase deal. So, this call was really about inspiring people to get ready to build state channels, build robust businesses on this, and kind of let your mind go. So next week, we are going to do another Hypergraph hour. Matthias and I are going to dive in and do a complete shift and talk about Lattice, powered by Constellation, and really talk through the roadmap of Lattice and where it's going and how we're kind of bridging the gap between what Constellation is, what Lattice is, how they work together, and see this as one of the first subsidiaries and entities under the Constellation Kiretsu. An essential piece because it acts as that crossroads between digital ecosystems, between different blockchains at no cost. And this is going to be a very powerful vision that we're going to share with you that's probably bigger than you thought Lattice was, because a lot of what we talked about in Lattice were about features and functionalities around an exchange, but really this becomes kind of the financial crossroads between DAG and other ecosystems. So really excited to talk through that. And we've got a big month and a big March in store. So hopefully you all can join us next week as we bridge those worlds. Beyond that, we'll have this edited and posted in a little bit. I can't thank you all enough for coming, and we'll talk next week. Thanks all.